Astoria. I had a fine time. I didn't have an overly worst time or overly good time, but I definitely think it's a really good anime for people who are beginning or starting into anime. Because the plot and the powers are extremely simple, but also I would like to add in that there are some tropes out there that are used not only in this anime, but in a whole bunch of other ones. Like, for example, the one where you have the rival, or the one where you have the high stakes reward, or you're trying to get to that big goal that you're trying to get there, but you don't know how you're gonna get there.
Like, comment, subscribe, it helps.
And for some reason, this anime also reminded me of Harry Potter, from like it was like if Harry Potter turned into the anime with like a few extra steps like the main character. But before I even continue, let me at least get into the story of things. With the story first starting out with a character by the name of Will, and he basically gets called down to the front of the classrooms so he can actually do a spell in front of the whole class. Come to find out, Will actually can't cast any spells because he has no magical powers at all. Then the teacher actually just gets on his ass and says, hey, if you can't do any magic, basically essentially get the hell out of the school and do something else with your life. And we soon find out that Will has zero magic power, but he has the power of using his sword, and he's extremely skillful with his sword. One of the things I did really like in the story is how they crafted Will's mindset and just showing you what he was thinking when the time period of him just keep getting bullied or messed around for not having any magical powers whatsoever. Because not only was he getting bullied for not having any magical powers whatsoever, he also at the same time was like hurting himself. He thought, damn, what is actually wrong with me? Everyone else has powers around me, but I have nothing. What could I possibly do? How can I possibly achieve my goals or be one of the best in the wizardly world if I have nothing? And showing a mindset that necessarily you would see a lot of times in real life, where someone would actually just be extremely down or extremely sad about their circumstances or what they're going through and not be able to achieve their goals. But one of the reasons I really did stick around with this anime, and not to compare it, but just to say it reminds me a little bit of a reminiscence, is to certain other animes that are some of my favorite of all time, where it just has undying hope, or like the hope that just doesn't die. You try to not fall into despair. You try to achieve your goals no matter how high that tall tree is, you still climb it regardless. Apparently sometimes like the obstacles might be impossible to do, or it might be one of the most hardest things that you've ever done in your life, or you want to run away but you decide not to anyway, and so continue moving forward. And I will fully 100% admit I am a kind of sucker for it. Then there was another build up in the show that I was kind of iffy on because I didn't fully quite understand it, and it's sort of the build up that's the rivalry between Will as well as Zion, right? With Zion hating Will for what seems to be like he never gave him any attention. He never actually wanted to talk to him, even though he always sort of called him a talentless person or wanted him to work under him. He always said, why is this random kid not noticing me? And I don't know how to interpret that. I don't know if he like sort of really likes the guy, like, oh my goodness, I'm in love with you, or he actually was like, oh, I want you as a friend, or I can't really express myself correctly, so I have to do it in a really weird, backwards, fucked up type of way, or he's being extremely hateful or spiteful for how he was treated in the past, of how he wanted to be left alone. Well, not Zion, but Will wanted to be left alone when Zion tried to speak to him or try to get him on his side, which is completely understandable from Will's perspective, because he actually wants to go ahead and focus on his goal, since he had an understanding of no one wants to be around me or talk to me, so fuck it, I'll just focus on my goals and what my aspirations or what I want to do. Also, I really do like how they crafted the world as well. I feel like how they add certain elements or certain little aspects to the world building, whether it be just the other races of the dwarves, or you might have other creatures that are down there in the dungeon, and we don't inherently go to a lot of places for the world building itself, but I feel like they do flesh it out a decent amount, so that leaves me to want more, to understand a lot more about this world and see what else it has to offer. I also wanted to go back to something I said earlier in the video, where I said like it's very simple. And again, not saying it's bad, I'm just saying like I have inherently seen it be done better, where something inherently is something very simple in concept but also executed very well at the same time, like on One Punch Man. But also I do want to add in that I do like the side characters, but it's either I want more of them or I want them to be fleshed out a lot more, like the main character himself, so that you can like have an understanding and more of a connection to the other characters that we do see in the show. For example, someone that seems extremely interesting in the show, which is Edward, which is one of the professors that wanted Will to be out of the school. Like, he wanted him to be permanently out of the school. He seems extremely interesting with not only him almost achieving his end goal, but at the same time being an extremely powerful wizard that's just basically around all of these students teaching. Kind of wanted to know his backstory or what he's doing or what's going on with him. Then this is something I'm going to say that I think that we're going to get into more detail as the season goes by, or the next season, or even the next season. And it's sort of the relationship between the Grand Wizard lady that he's trying to get to, as well as Will himself, because I want to understand necessarily why like they have such a close connection. I understand that they were orphans and they were kids together, and they grew up together being extremely close with each other, but I sort of want to get a little bit more of a better picture when it comes to showing, oh, this is sort of why they have such a strong connection with each other, because it doesn't inherently go into that much detail when it comes to their relationship. Also, they do a really good depiction of how they show off the world itself when it comes to how they view everyone else. Like, for example, if you don't have any type of magic, just like the main character, or you're like a dwarf dwarf, they just become extremely racist. They're like, yo, this little dwarf is trying to say anything to me. He can't do anything to me. He's just a small little insignificant bug like that washes his peas with like piss or some shit. They're showing how corrupt and bad some of these wizards have become over the years of just practicing wizardry and just being alone with this magic and being the pinnacle, the absolute in this universe, which is magic. But other than that, I had a fine time. I think I'll suggest it if you're a newcomer to the anime. If you're like sort of a seasoned veteran, I still suggest it. I'd say to give it a chance and see if you would actually like it. But other than that, thank you guys for watching, liking, comment, subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.